Second,
I think it's both ends.
He sleep.
I will just say before you answer, because when I was writing this, I made the point to say in the top of this piece, I'm not saying this is like a little political jab because I used to be a political staffer, right? It is being reflected in the polling. In the Reuters Ipsos polling, Americans who were polled are saying many of them feel as though the president has lost a step over the last year.
A majority.
That he is more erratic, that they would not describe him as stable. And so the logical conclusion to just those numbers is, in fact, to ask the questions, well, is the president okay? Has he lost a step? And before I wrote it, and then he sleep. What? If Joe Biden had fallen asleep in the Oval Office on camera multiple times, it would be all we were talking about. Yeah. I am frustrated because it feels as though that we are giving Donald Trump a pass because everyone is concerned if they're going to be sued.
I agree. And I think we need to worry that his sleepiness is getting sleepier. But I worry even more about the highs than the lows. The moments of grandiosity, erratic and impulsive behavior are getting more erratic, more grandiose. We saw this in the first term. People didn't believe me when I came out and said we were closer to the brink of nuclear war than folks realized because Donald Trump was tweeting us all the way to the brink with North Korea, so much so that at the Department of Homeland Security, we had to do those exercises to prepare for the possibility we might get into a nuclear war. But it was even worse than that. I remember going into a secure facility after the North Koreans had just launched a test missile, and we didn't know if it was headed towards the United States. And you know what Donald Trump called to talk to us about? I would have hoped he was calling to say, is everything okay? Are we going to be okay? He called to say, we got to deport him at the border. Why? During a live fire exercise, is the President of the United States not even thinking about that possibility? He was that erratic from the start, all over the place, not caring about these things, and now it's worse. Remember when Richard Nixon, 1974, said, I could pick up the phone and in 25 minutes, 70 million people would die? That was a hypothetical. Donald Trump gets on Twitter and says 90 million people will die. That should scare folks. One other thing, a lot of people don't know this. On Donald Trump's desk, there's a little wooden box with a red button. He had that installed as a prop so that people are sitting in the Oval Office and see him reach for the red button and thinking, what's he going to press? And he presses it and the anteroom swings open and a guy comes in with a Diet Coke. True story. He does it every single day. He presses that button. The fact that the President of the United States likes to joke about pressing the big red button should tell us everything you need to know about his mental state.
There's not a big red button that the president pushes. I do think it's important people know that.
And let me just say before we move on, the president appeared to fall asleep.
Oh, yes, let me be accurate. I wasn't in the room. I don't know if he was actually asleep or not. Yeah. It looked to me like he was. I mean, you all can decide
Standards
for yourself.
ain't going to come after me. He looked very sleeping.
Let's go with that. So the reality is there is no red button. He appeared to fall asleep. We're lucky he didn't appear to fall asleep with his finger on the red button.
That's right.
Okay? I think you raised the more salient point. It's the moment of the grandiosity when he's at 2 a.m. tweeting. Y'all know he went on a tweet
post because he was on his social media, his own social media
tirade
site.
Till about
whatever.
3 a.m. last night.
Yeah, till 3 a.m. when he probably should have been in bed, right? But that's the way the psychopathy works for him. And so the reality is, here we are. What do we do? How do we deal with this every single day? I mean, you see it on the screen here, folks. This is, from 12:18 a.m. to 2:45 a.m. This man is tweeting or posting whatever the hell it is doing.
Those are the hours I like to spin out to.
He's not.
I'm usually watching my shows, but we're laughing, but it's also like you got to laugh to keep him crying because this is crazy.
So the question, real quick, before you go, is what should we ultimately make of all of this? Because to the broader point, I think the way we talk about this, and more importantly, the way our press covers this, is not serious. And you're damn skippy. If Joe Biden had done 1/10 of this crap, every damn newspaper in the country every day would have a picture on the front page. We saw how they flipped out just because of what happened in the transition between him and Kamala Harris and all of that. So the reality is we're not being serious.